while Leroy Truth Investigations was having the premiere, I hopped in the chat. Long Island Audits was in there. And Long Island Audit says, he's referring to Attorney Shield, we are going to change police interactions in America. Good. That's what we need. We need good police interactions in America, i.e. we need the cops doing what they're supposed to be there doing, and that is protecting and not violating rights, period. All rights. First Amendment rights, yes. Auditing rights, yes. Second Amendment rights, yeah. That means no cop in any federal building will ever disarm you or have a problem with you walking into a federal court building. That means the cops will tell the judge when the judge says, get Leroy Truth out of here. He has a firearm. And oh, by the way, go ahead and arrest him because he's a felon. That means that the cops will say, Judge, you are freaking out of your mind, you freaking tyrant. He has a perfect right to have a gun in a federal building, in a post office, in a restricted zone or whatever, in a gun-free zone. When I see that, I might be convinced that the cops are actually there for good. I told Long Island Audit, I said, thanks for sticking your neck out for the rest of us, because he does. He was thrown in prison. I wasn't. He was forced to eat their food. He was forced to have a body cavity search, in the name of freedom and pushing the envelope back and pushing tyranny back. I freaking applaud that. He stuck his neck out. I didn't. I'm just sitting here. I'm just a pipsqueak behind a desk. I respect anybody who goes out there and looks tyranny in the eye and goes, no, I'm standing firm, and doesn't. I like how Sean does it. I don't have a personal problem with Long Island Audits. Do we have disagreements on certain things? Yeah, but that doesn't mean I have anything personal against him. It seems to me that there's a lot of people in this community that have personal things against other people, and it just seems like it's really weird. I mean, we really do need to unite, but we got to unite on truth. We can't just play patty cake. Long Island Audit says, and I amen, policy doesn't trump our rights. I said, constitutional rights, misconstitutional rights was in there. I was telling her to hold the line. These cops have to put their money where their mouth is. Talk is cheap. And apparently this captain's talk is cheap because he's basically saying don't violate rights, but we'll violate rights whenever we want to, and we'll make any excuse for it, i.e. traffic law or every town USA gun laws. Next one. How many people has this cop thrown into a cage under the war on drugs? That's another thing. There's nothing more unconstitutional than the war on drugs. It's not a war on drugs. It's a war on the people. The prison industrial complex increased capacity exponentially after Tyrant Nixon declared a war on drugs. Drug abuse and addiction, I'll tell you that.
Public enemy number one in the United States is drug abuse. In order to fight and defeat this enemy, it is necessary to wage a new all-out offensive.
How many no-knock raids has this captain been a part of? These are some of the questions I'm going to ask him. I really hope he appears on the live stream. How many people has he economically terrorized? And just as importantly, how many of his thin blue line gang members has he personally arrested for violating rights? I bet the answer is zero. Leroy Truth Investigation says, here's the deal. You're right. Many police officers do, violate rights. And I also ask that people have an open mind about this particular police officer. That's fair. That's fair. I know for a fact that he's very sincere. He could be sincere. Okay. But there are a lot of people who are sincere that are sincerely wrong. I said, does this cop enforce anti-Second Amendment gun laws? Of course he does. It's his job. It's on his website. That's what his organization does. That's what they're all about. They're in the back pocket of Bloomberg and his ilk. I said, what state agency does this cop work for? Leroy Truth Investigations tells me North Bergen, New Jersey. That's when I did a quick Google search about North Bergen, New Jersey, and New Jersey in general and their gun laws, and then found out that you have to go through them to get rights that you already have, which is utterly ridiculous and detestable and tyrannical. Long Island Audit said so many people have such a blind hatred toward law enforcement. I understand, but when's the last time you went to a public meeting for your town? We need to do better and go after the lawmakers. I agree. The lawmakers, like they did back in the 1800s, early 1800s, maybe it would be a good idea. And I'm not suggesting this. I'm just throwing this out there as a point of historical fact. Maybe the vat of tar and the bag of feathers would be a good idea with regard to political parasites and anybody who would violate your rights. Maybe it'd be a good idea to reinstitute some of that stuff. I'm not saying you should, but maybe it's a good idea. Yeah, so political parasites are a bad factor and a corrupt cog in the wheel of the political realm. No doubt at all. But I think this obfuscates and puts a smokescreen up for the real issue. Is it really a blind hatred for law enforcement when you face the fact that guys like this are involved in acts of tyranny like this or this? Is it really blind hatred? I mean, I don't view it as such. I don't think that's blind hatred. I think that's educated, well-honed, laser-focused, justified hatred, in my opinion. If anybody disagrees with me, I want to know. I'm not here to make enemies, but I'm also not here to win a popularity contest. I'm not just here to rock the boat, just to rock the boat and see how many people I can shake out of it. If we got to rock the boat to dodge the shark, maybe we should do that. Maybe there's a legitimate reason that somebody wants to get up and rock the boat and cause alarm and create an attention on a dark area that nobody wants to pay attention to. Maybe there's a reason maybe there's a place for that. This cop is an active Second Amendment violator according to his own policies, is what I said. He's part of a criminal network that criminalizes those who exercise their Second Amendment. He's a tyrant and he's lying to you. I don't just believe that. I just showed you the receipts. I showed you the proof. Here's the link. So I put the link in the chat. Long Island Audit says, here's the deal. Your kind of thinking won't change anything. Just causes more division. Respect. How can you cause division by speaking the truth? How can you cause division by calling out lies? And if speaking the truth and calling out lies and unearthing tyranny is divisive, isn't that necessary and righteous and just division? I don't think anybody in the chat room is going to make the argument that truth is not divisive. I don't think we should be divided, but if there's going to be unity, if we're going to be united, it has to be based on truth. It can't be based on lollipop lies. It can't be based on feel good. I think this is going to work. I think this is okay. It's like, no, is this righteous or not? If it's righteous, we go full throttle, man. So my question to Long Island Audits, and again, I'm not mad at Sean. I don't have a personal beef or vendetta. I appreciate the work that he's done. I appreciate the exposure that he's given to the fact that we have a First Amendment. That's a net positive for everything. I bet if you ask the average American what is the First Amendment, they couldn't articulate one thing, not even freedom of religion. So I think it's an overall net positive to have Long Island Audits out there doing what he's doing and putting a camera in the face of tyrants, or tyrants putting their faces in his camera and calling them out for their hypocrisy and their evil. That's what these channels are all about. And what's the end goal? What is the hoped end goal? The end goal is to push back tyranny and completely eradicate tyranny and have a land of prosperity and freedom where you actually own your own property, where 100% of the income you went out to earn to support your family stays in your pocket and doesn't get pilfered by political psychopathic parasites. Is that too much to ask? To walk along the earth and not worry about a bang at your door at 4:00 in the morning because Aunt Sadie next door is worried about the fact that you have a gun and you might be a danger to yourself and others, and some psychopathic criminal in a clown suit, coming out of a clown car or some kind of military vehicle exacting an extreme risk protection order on you. What the frick? And do you really is that the America you want? No, I don't want it. So what kind of thinking won't change anything, Sean? That's my question. I said they're actively violating your rights, Long Island Audit. It's like the mafia telling you, hey, we won't break your kneecaps while they're clubbing you in the head. What were a couple things this guy said? Your rights, your government employee fears don't trump the auditor's rights. Amen, Captain. Amen. He said, it's up to you to create privacy in a public place, not the cameraman. Amen. So that's the mafia saying the right thing. And the wrong thing is, oh, by the way, you can't have a gun till you're 21. And even when you're 21, you have to submit an application to us and we may or may not approve a firearm for you. if that's not the height of freaking tyranny, you might as well go along with those Halloween fangs around your face, because that's how I'm seeing you. Because that's the truth. And we shouldn't apologize for it, and we shouldn't minimize it, and we shouldn't dilute it. I mean, truth is extreme. And to make it moderate is to lie. Long Island Audit says the government created the gap. Well, yeah, I guess people in government did create the gap. It's the gap. It's the thin blue line gap. It's that line of division between the haves and the have-nots, between the can-dos and you better not do it or you're going to be a felon, between the Philip Brailsford of the world, offing the Daniel Shavers of the world and getting away with it, or the Matt Schaefers, tasing Johnny Wheatcroft in the private parts in front of his screaming kids and torturing them for no freaking reason. But if you did the same thing, you'd still be behind bars. But Matthew Schneider didn't receive 1 day behind bars. So if that's the gap that you're talking about, I agree. There's a gap. He says it's by design to keep the people from being united against the politicians. A parasite in a suit, a psychopathic parasite in a suit, is not and cannot be worse than the psychopathic parasite in the clown suit with the tin badge and the militarized vehicle and the Kevlar vest. Cannot be. Because it's not the politician throwing you into jail. It's not the politician foreclosing on your home and coming at gunpoint and throwing the flashbang grenades and the smoke bombs into your house when you have an infant who's struggling for his life in the first place. It's not the politicians doing that. It's the order followers who are just doing their job. Hey, I'm just doing my job. Put that guy's life in jeopardy. Take away that guy's rights. Throw Kevin Strickland in jail for 43 years and keep him there under lock and key when he did nothing wrong. So yeah, I disagree. Politicians, as bad as they are, as scummy as they are, as leech-like and parasitic as they are, they do not hold a candle to the teeth that the law enforcers put on when they grab you by the lapel and throw you up against the wall and bash your head in and then say, hey, you made me do it.
Look what you made me do. Look what you made me do.
If you just would have complied, everything would have been fine, Eric Garner. If you just would have slowed down and stopped, I wouldn't have pulled your shoulder out of your socket, Karen Garner, and thrown you into a cell and then laughed about it outside the cell when we reviewed the body cam video of us abusing a 72-year-old. I said, what do you mean by my kind of thinking, Long Island Audit? I just gave the link to the North Bergen Police Department. It's like I think people want to believe so bad that this captain right here is a different person than the rest of his compadres, that he's a diamond in the rough, that he's somebody that we should respect because he said a couple good words. And I just don't see it that way. I don't see it that way at all. The next one, Long Island Audit says he's enforcing that here. This is the core of the issue. And we got to understand this. He is enforcing the law that was passed by elected officials. You don't like the law. You don't hate the police officer. You take it up with the legislature, hold them accountable. Okay. So I got a pen and I got a piece of paper right here. And I'm writing on a piece of paper. I want you, badged law enforcer, to invade Aunt Martha's house at 2:30 this morning with 12 of your best men because we have red flag laws. Are we to say, hey, they're just enforcing the law against innocent people? Hey, they're just making somebody insecure in their home on their own property at 2:30 in the morning while they're trying to sleep? I don't get this. The captain is enforcing the law that was passed by elected officials. Yeah, they're unconstitutional laws. They're tyrannical laws. They're freedom snatching laws. They're economic terrorist laws. He's just doing his job. He didn't make the laws. He's just enforcing them. I mean, maybe I'm going crazy. Maybe I've flipped my lid. Maybe I'm not looking at this thing in the right way. I am completely open to being corrected on this, but this is a showstopper for me. He's just enforcing the law that was passed by the elected officials. Is he not a person? Can he not make his own decisions? Can he not stand up and say, no, I'm not bashing that lady's door down. I'm not going to go into that 78-year-old's house because some iPhone app pinged on it. And now there's a $3.7 million lawsuit against a couple police officers in the city. I ain't going to do it because it's not right. I don't care. Politicians are parasites. Why would I obey their laws anyway? I mean, Sean, what I hear you saying is he's not a moralist. He's just a conformist. He's just doing what he's told. Isn't that what the SS said? Isn't that the excuse of the Gestapo? Isn't that how they could cement themselves in cognitive dissonance and sleeping at night and saying, hey, I'm absolved from any and all criminality that I commit under the auspices of this badge and this uniform. I'm just following orders. I'm not guilty. It didn't work at Nuremberg. And the reason it didn't work in Nuremberg is because it's not right. You still committed the evil act against your fellow human being. I don't care who wrote the laws. You were the person who said, okay, I'll go ahead and enforce it. What the flip, man? I'm freaking speechless. I'm paralyzed with speechlessness here. Oh, you're using hyperbole and you're over exaggerating. You're just blowing this thing all out of proportion. This is how tyranny happens. It's how it metastasizes. It's how it takes over and becomes a police state. It's how we have the CBDC and the Federal Reserve and the IRS and the CIA and the NSA spying on us. It's why we got to take our shoes off at the airport and our belts and prove that it is truly a laptop in our bag and pour out everything that's over 3 ounces, shampoo, conditioner, it doesn't matter. This is how it happens. This is how you lose your gun rights. This is how piles and piles of dead human beings get thrown into holes because they submitted to a government and said they were just following orders. He's just enforcing the law that was passed by the worst people in society. What kind of excuse is that, man? What kind of excuse is that? I can't even believe this could reside in the heart of somebody who, and again, I am not besmirching his name. I am not taking away Sean's credit for doing what he's done. I'm super sick of people saying, look how many subscribers I've got. Look how many views I've got. Look how much money I make. Look how much good I've done. I'm not, this isn't personal, but my God, the worst thing in America is order followers. The worst part in Nazi Germany was people just doing their jobs, just enforcing their laws. It's just the Reichstag fire decree. I just have to smash your door in and take away all your firearms. And I think I'll take a couple of your kids too. And is anybody hiding behind the walls? I'm just following orders. My commanding officer said I need to burn your house down and load you up on the boxcars. He's just following orders. At what point does just following orders be, okay, we can't accept that. We can't accept that. You don't like the law. You don't hate the police officer. You take it up with no. The legislature is responsible, and the person who put the legislator's laws into practice in your frickin' life is absolutely responsible. Hold them accountable, as opposed to not holding the cops accountable. Long Island Audit said police officers can't change the law. Here's the deal, but they can ignore them. Marbury versus Madison. Any law that's repugnant to the Constitution is absolutely null and void.